Smithy, how you going, brother?
How are you, Kempy?
Very good, mate.
That's the way. I'm very good. Had a cup of grumpy coffee this morning, so I'm up and about.
Oh yeah, thanks,
How
mate.
good,
mate. It's you know what's crazy is the launch went too well, so we actually
Really?
because
So you run off your feet.
yeah. So initially we thought we'd need two people to get rid of the packaging,
Yes.
because most normal businesses when they start they don't have a big platform to launch off, so it's a gradual process. Anyway, there are currently 7 people employed right now. Getting through all the orders.
Wow.
So that's all come together in the last 48 hours where I've been, we've been ringing people and getting people in and everything. So I've been getting through the order. So yeah, head to grumpycoffee.com.au.
How good.
If you want to grab some coffee.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful coffee as the Smithy just attested to.
I'm actually having a little giggle to myself. I'm looking up at the screens, and this must be a replay. But 360, they're showing a tackle on Nathan Cleary from Josh King, and they're referencing that this may have had something to do with his shoulder injury.
Oh, mate.
Mate, laughable. Come on, fellas.
How explain?
Obviously, these blokes that are talking about it, they've never made a tackle in their life. Like Josh King, that's a little teddy bear hold.
That's insane. It's insane that they would infer that had anything to do.
What the hell? Wow.
The reason why, look, obviously I'm no physio. The reason why it's subluxed or dislocated is because he's extending his arms out to play the ball to get up.
Oh, my goodness.
That's
Mate, it's no more than a little bear hug. He's just giving him a little squeeze.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It is. And what are you supposed to do? So you're not, is he supposed to not wrap him up? Therefore, he gets to play the ball. How is he supposed to get his? Yeah.
Yeah. Newsflash, boys. that happens every tackle. Newsflash, fellas.
Oh man.
Anyway,
isn't it so typical? Storm getting to a grand final and is like clockwork. Clockwork.
Anyway.
What
else are we talking about today?
There is
it
so
just
much.
caught my eye. Sorry about that. It just caught my eye.
It's just disappointing because you thought, it's been 4
rubbish,
years.
mate.
It's rubbish. And it's been 4 years since the last grand final, I think, that the Storm have been in. And you would have hoped the game had moved past this kind of tactics of. I just don't understand it, especially something as innocuous as that. Like to implicate or imply that Josh King had anything. We're talking about Josh King, who I don't think he's even been suspended this year.
No.
Like the cleanest player you could get in the most nothing tackle ever with a guy that already had a shoulder injury. Like we have to remember, it was already injured.
Yep.
And then you're going to imply that King had something to do with it. It's just such poor form. And the thing that's frustrating as well is that's Josh King's reputation that's getting tarnished there.
100%, mate.
For literally no reason whatsoever. Like there was no penalty, was not put on a report. There's been no talk about it since it happened.
Yeah.
And yet we get into grand final week and Josh King is getting implied that he's intentionally trying to dislocate someone's shoulder. It's pretty disgraceful, to be honest. Yeah. You got me worked up, Smithy. Oh, man. Okay. All righty, let's get into it, though. The grand final has been decided, mate. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, this is the grand final that I think a lot of people expected. Probably from about the halfway mark, I think most punters, fans, people that commentate the game, they've been saying, well, it's Storm Penrith clear favourites. And then sort of anyone else that has a go, they're going to have to play really well to get to that grand final and beat either one of those sides in a prelim to advance to a grand final. So it makes for an outstanding game. An outstanding game. I want to go off the bat first, though, and really congratulate the Penrith Panthers. 5 consecutive grand finals. It's impressive, right? Like on the surface, just like, wow, that's a big achievement. But knowing how difficult it is to make one, and they've now made 5 in a row, is just incredible. Incredible. So turnover of players, managing salary caps, year on year, just teams like they have been the hunted, right? So after playing in that 2020 grand final, they come runners up, but even after that, they went to another level in 21. And it really, ever since that halfway mark of the 2021 season, they have been the hunted, Kempy.
Yep.
So every time they roll out on a weekend and play their football, whoever they're playing, it doesn't matter who they play, where they're standing on the ladder, what their form is like, they want to go out there and play their best when they play Penrith. So now to be able to, fight off all of those challenges and get through all the other different challenges of a season of NRL and make 5 in a row, I just think that's nothing short of incredible. Incredible. So you need to congratulate those guys first. Secondly, with the Melbourne Storm, well, they've just, as you said, they haven't been to a grand final since 2020. They've been close on a couple of occasions. They played in a few prelims. This time, it seems as though they've got all of their ducks in a row at the right time of the year. So they fell short a few times over the last 3 or 4 years. But this time around, they've made a difference. They've made a change to their football. Their mindset looks a little bit different with the way they go out and play their style of footy, and they're just up and about at the moment. So this is going to be a grand final for the ages.
Oh, mate, I absolutely cannot wait. And you would know this much better, but it's one thing. It's hard enough to be an NRL side that gets a lot of wins. And granted, I was a nobody at the Broncos. However, at that period at the Broncos, anyone playing the Broncos, it was like a grand final to them. And you can attest to this too. Anyone playing the Storm, put it this way, when you see a team beat the Storm, they celebrate a little bit differently when they beat a team that's not in the 8.
Yep.
The Penrith Panthers, they're basically playing grand finals every single week.
Yep.
You get a win over the Penrith Panthers over the last 4 years, and people are sitting there going, "Oh my God, you beat the Penrith Panthers!"
It's almost like winning a grand final.
Yeah, it's crazy
if you beat them,
mate. It's crazy. So it's a great point. Like, it's one thing to just be a normal side in the NRL. It's another thing that every single team, their preparation for you is they're building into the biggest game of their season, and for you, it's just another game. So it's incredible what the Penrith Panthers have done. Just quickly got a text here. Who from Penrith actually whinged about Josh King's tackle? We weren't talking about Penrith. We're talking about the people in the media that have brought this up, mate. We're absolutely not talking about Penrith.
No, not at all.
In regards to the tackle we were talking about earlier. But yeah, in regards to the Storm, what I'm really excited with the Storm, and I think you've brought this up quite a few times, mate, like rightly or wrongly, they get almost they've had the same expectation as the same roster when you were coming through, when you were playing. Like, so basically everyone goes, that Storm side, well, they better win a comp. Like, that's the Storm. Yep. But it's a totally different roster. Matter of fact, compared to 2020, if you look at the bench of the 2020 side, it was Dale Finucane, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, Nico Hines, and Cheese.
Fair bench.
Fair bench. Marquee signings at every club they went to. And so what is really interesting about this is that, a lot of clubs, when they get, basically, my understanding of footy, or just being watching it for a while now, usually a squad's cycle is like a 2 to 4 year thing where you're kind of building into that 4th year. Yep. And if it doesn't work in that 4th year, you're kind of like, all right, well, we probably need to have a freshen up here. Mm-hmm. And it's almost happened perfectly with Craig Bellamy in his 4th year, where, especially this season, like, I really felt like if you could have a graph of the Storm's form, aside from one little hiccup at the end of the year, it's been a very steady increase to their peak form that they're hitting right now.
Yep.
It shows just a really well-prepared season by the Storm of understanding what went wrong last year. And we'll talk about it later in the show in regards to how important reviews are. Even the best teams do that, and clearly the Storm have nailed their season, their preseason, but also their in-season, form, because they're absolutely peaking at the right time.
Yeah, and particularly those 4 key players, right? So Pappenhausen, Munster, Hughes, and Grant. They are playing such great football at the moment, and they had some challenges throughout the year where there was guys with injuries. Like Munster's only really played half a year. Yeah. There was a point there where he injured himself up at Suncorp Stadium. Were they playing the Broncos or Dolphins? Where he went over awkwardly, and it looked bad. Yeah. Like, it looked at that point in time, well, that was going to be season over for him. But he took another extended break, to try and rehab that groin. And since returning, he's looked so good. So he come back maybe, 4 weeks before finals? 3 weeks before finals? Something like that. And he's just gone from strength to strength, and he's just looking unbelievable at the moment. Jerome Hughes, he's been on fire all year. And the way that Pappenhausen and Grant are just, they're working in tandem with those 2 halves players, it's got this team humming right now. humming.
Yeah.
That's probably the way I look at them play. And I was down in Melbourne last week for that game against the Roosters. Now the Roosters put up a bit of a fight early. It helped with Sofa Solomoni going to the bin. First 10 minutes they received 3 consecutive penalties, marched up the other end, kicked a penalty goal, up 2-0, got down the other end again, scored a try, 6-0. But once Nelson got back on the field and it was level playing field again, 13-on-13, they went to work, mate. They went to work and absolutely tore the Roosters to shreds. They were brave. Like, the Roosters were brave. They kept digging in and having a go, but they were completely outclassed, led by those 3 guys. Now, those 4 guys, those 4 guys are supported by some players, haven't got as bigger profiles as them, but the way they're playing at the moment, guys like Will Warbrick, unbelievable. Jack Howarth.
Mate.
Jack Howarth. He actually outplayed Joey Manu for a period of that game.
Yeah.
Actually for a larger period than what Joey Manu outplayed Jack Howarth.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like the final 10 or 12 minutes that Joey Manu come to life.
Yeah.
Like Jack Howarth actually gave him a little bit of a bath at times. And then you look at the unsung heroes like in the forward pack, guys like Josh King, the 2 back rowers, Shawnee Bloor and Eli Katoa, unbelievable. And then the young fella playing 13 at the moment, Trent Liero, like just incredible. You know what I mean? So they've got this support staff at the moment that they go out there, they know exactly what their role is, and they play it to the best of their ability. And when the opportunities arise, well, those 4 guys, that's when they take them. They just take them. They don't ask questions. They just go straight at that space. They go straight at the opportunity, and it usually results in points.
Big Nas to miss Sunday grand final showdown with Penrith after he failed in his bid to have a grade 3 careless high tackle reduced to the judiciary. The guilty verdict means the towering prop will miss 5 matches. What?
Gee up.
That is the biggest. Look, if you want to make him miss a grand final, I guess in the current system, but 5 matches for that tackle? Smithy, speak to me.
No, I don't like it. 5 for that hit. Like, really? And it just seems every time something happens, similar to this incident, it's when it's a certain tackle that is being put under the spotlight by the NRL. So at the moment, the high contact / concussions are a huge talking point. And player safety and welfare, and that's all great. But 5 weeks, 5 weeks for that tackle. I just, what? On the night, Kempy, I was okay with the sin bin.
Yeah,
I've heard some comments. throughout the week saying, "Look, I don't even think it should have been a sin bin." I think absolutely they got that decision right.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, like I was 100% fine with the sin binning. And whatever repercussions that came with him being off the field, then that I was totally fine with. But the grading for me was the one that I couldn't get my head around. A grade 3 for that one. A grade 3. Now I look back, take yourself back to when Melbourne Storm last played Penrith up in Penrith. He was charged with high contact on Dane Laurie. Right, it's that tackle where he hit Laurie, and he also come through and cleaned up his own teammate Cam Munster as well. Yeah. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look at that actual tackle and you look at the impact, it's very similar to the tackle that he's just been suspended for against Lindsay Collins. So he doesn't hit him with the point of his shoulder. He's pretty much standing upright, and he hits Dane Laurie with like his chest or pec, like the front of his body. He hits him sort of with an open chest, right? He got a grade 1 for that. Okay, now Dane Laurie went down, and I think he went off for a head injury assessment. I believe he come back on. He might have been Cat 2, which means he had the opportunity to come back on the field. Whereas the only difference was, Lindsay Collins was returning the ball from a kickoff. And we all seen what happened when Lindsay tried to get up and he played the ball backwards, and it doesn't look great, right? So is that what the grading was about? Was because of what happened to the ball carrier? Because if it is, I think we need to really have a look at that system. Like they're two very similar tackles, like the one against Lindsay Collins and the one, what was it, about 6 weeks ago against Dane Laurie. Very, very similar, but completely different gradings. I don't get that.
Yeah, we really need to look at the system, I think. I think the system isn't properly, I guess, it doesn't seem like it's made for the current climate in which we are judging these things.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it is optics. And look, as I said, me personally, like in what I want, I think Nash should just play. That makes me feel better.
Yep.
In the current system, I can understand why he's not because, Collins with the 11-day stand down.
Yes.
But I do believe, going forward, we need to blow this current final system up and go, listen, anything that isn't, fully intent or, reckless, missing grand finals, something that you've worked your whole life for, over a tackle that had no intent, was really about that there were mitigating circumstances. I'm not suggesting that Collins slipped into it or wherever, but he was bracing for attack. Mm-hmm. And so I agree with you, mate. I did think it was 10 in the bin. I did think, and there are things Nelson could do to prevent that going forward. Get a bit lower. You don't want to get too low because then you knock yourself out. However, trying to find that sweet spot.
Yep.
But missing a grand final is just so hard to swallow. I really think heading into next year, if we could look at some kind of system that it has to be a reckless intent to go, mate, you've recklessly gone out there to hurt a bloke, therefore you don't deserve to be in a grand final. I get the argument from Roosters' perspective of, Collins wouldn't have been in the grand final with 11 days. I get that, and it does get it. It's hard to square that away. However, punishments are usually put in place to deter future actions, and Collins not playing really wouldn't have much bearing on deterring Nelson's future actions. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, I just didn't think it deserved a grade 3. It's pretty straightforward.
It's bizarre,
and I know, there's arguments as well going, well, that was his third and subsequent offence of the season, and he had his opportunities, had his chances to fix his technique, but I don't know what else he could have done there. If he bends over, well, then he puts himself in danger of getting knocked out. Have a look at the week before. We've seen 2 concussions, two incidents where players went in and they bent their back like people are asking Nelson to do, and they got their head in the wrong position, and they were, Tolu Kola, he missed the whole match. And Jackie Dravojevic, thankfully, was okay and was able to come back on the field, but he missed 15 minutes of that game, that really important match against the Roosters. So, it's a difficult one. Given the change in the game, and I'm talking from a point of view, it's probably hard for me to get my head around because we didn't have this high contact stuff in my last season, right? There was a little bit of talk around the concussion protocols, and it may have just come in, but you could still, the referees weren't and the MRC wasn't as strict on the high contact stuff. Okay, it's really been over the last 2 or 3 years where they've really, cracked down on the high contact. So I don't know, that to me. And again, this is probably from a person talking. My first game was way back in 2002. We're tackling big blokes up around the neck or the chin was okay. You know what I mean? It's a different time, so I get it.
Yeah.
But he didn't do much wrong, and like you said, he didn't go flying in there recklessly to try and take Lindsay's head off. He didn't go flying in there recklessly like you used to see guys, shoulder charging and just trying to absolutely iron out Lindsay Collins. He went down alongside his teammates with a straight line of defence and just pretty much stood in front of him.
Panthers defeat the Sharks 26-6 at the Core Stadium. Panthers booked their place in 5th straight grand final. Classy win over the Sharks. So it was a solid win over the Sharks. I think it was their defence more than their attack that won it. I thought that they looked a little bit clunky, the Penrith Panthers, and I thought it was a couple of big moments from Cleary that really did change the game. But Smithy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I thought the Sharkies actually took it to Penrith quite well. They just, the class really shone through when it was needed. For Penrith, Cleary come up with some really big plays there, and I thought Luai was good. Dylan Edwards was fantastic as always. Brian To'o though, for me, Cleary come up with the big plays, but Brian Toll for me was probably their best player on the field.
Good.
Like he was so good. Like they could hardly get him to ground. He was making great meters for him. Isaiah Yeo also in his club record breaking game was fantastic. So I just feel as though the game as a whole, I felt as though Penrith did what they needed to do, Kempy. They just got themselves through that game. When they needed points, they found it through, some class with Nathan Cleary. They defended really strongly, as you mentioned. They've got a wonderful system. They've got a great defensive system where they're all on the same page. They know exactly what they're doing. They all work together. There's no really one person trying to solve an issue when opposition makes a bit of a dint or a half break or whatever it is, and they work extremely hard for each other. They work so hard for one another, with the ball, but also more importantly without the ball. If there's a half break or a line break, the next play of the ball, every single player is back at the referee, ready to go, ready to move up. They got their line set. So for me, watching that game, I'm 100% on the same page as you. Their defence was the standout for me. And really where the points come from was a couple of, pretty classy plays from Nathan. Jerome Luai, as I said, chipped in as well. Whereas, the Storm, they played a little bit differently. But, I must say, the Sharks had a go. The Sharks had a go. I think they need to be proud of their efforts because there was absolutely no expectation on them to go out there and win and certainly be in the game as long as they were. So, they got to be proud of their effort, even though they fell short.
I've been in the minority here. I've spoke to a few mates, so I'm probably wrong. But I actually thought the Sharks had missed a huge opportunity. I really felt they made so many unforced errors where I was just like, this is the game of your lives, boys. And the Penrith Panthers, that they haven't turned up normal Penrith Panthers. Like, there's a real opportunity to ambush them. And so I agree with you, though. If you could look at the Sharks and go, effort-wise, it was a 10 out of 10. Like, it's one of the most desperate defensively I saw the Sharks all year long. Like, I really felt, I agree with you, where they really had a red-hot crack, but they just didn't have the clinical. I just felt that heading into this game, they would at least complete it around 80 to 85%. For the first 60 minutes at least, but they didn't. They stuck around the 69, 70% for most of the game. And so I was a bit surprised at some of the unforced errors, and I thought, far out, if you're Fitzy, you're probably sitting there going, geez, there was a bit of an opportunity to ambush here. Like, we had a lot of field position. We were dominating the ruck for a relatively long period of time. Obviously, then Cleary kicks that 40-20.
Yep.
So, although I give effort 10 out of 10 for the Sharkies, execution in attack, I feel like they're going to probably go back and go, oh, far out. We could have actually done something pretty special here, or at least, took them to the death. In regards to the Penrith Panthers, it's hard to take. I don't know how to look at it. One part of me is looking at it like, and this is no disrespect to the Sharks at all, but it did kind of feel like the Panthers were going into this game going, look, we're a substantially better footy side. The last time we played them, we beat them bloody 40-0, and we didn't even have Nathan Cleary.
Yep.
And I think that they were kind of like, as you said earlier, just did what they had to do.
Yep.
Now, the only negative or chink in the armour of the Penrith Panthers I can see is I haven't seen them reach the heights that they had reached last year in their style of footy. Like, I haven't watched the Penrith Panthers this year and gone, oh, wow. Like, outside of the first 20 minutes against the Roosters, I haven't looked at the Penrith and gone, wow, that's the Penrith Panthers that we all are fearing across the NRL.
Yep.
And that's where I just don't know. Are they saving it for the grand final, or it's a tough one. I feel like for most of the season, the Panthers have done what they've needed to do. Just get the job done.
Yeah. I actually think they're just a different footy side now, and they play differently. I think they've evolved a little bit from that 2020 team that was played so expansive. Didn't play overly cautious footy at all. Like they didn't mind throwing the ball around. They didn't mind some some extravagant plays and some early kicks and all these different things. Whereas now they seem like a more controlled footy side. And that's probably come with maturity, right? So when you look back at that 2020 side, like there's a lot of guys still involved in this team now that are, 4 years older. So they burst on the scene. You know, that style of footy was working for them all the way up to that grand final. So there was no need for them to change. And I think I've heard, a few comments made from that from a handful of those players that played in that grand final in 2020, and they spoke about how they learned some lessons on how to play a grand final. Okay, it wasn't like you could go there and play it like you've played every other club game in the build up to that grand final, where you just have the same mindset and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's completely different. So I reckon watching Penrith over the last, particularly the last 18 months, I reckon they've gone more towards that style where their defense is like a brick wall. Yeah. Okay, so their first thoughts when running onto the footy field is that we're going to keep you to a minimum today. Okay, so whoever we play, we're going to keep your score to a minimum, and we'll back ourselves to go out and if we keep you to 10, we'll score 12. Yeah. If we keep you to 16, we'll score 20. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't go hunting for the points. Whereas I think, and we'll get into probably a little bit deeper about this with the preview for the grand final. I think the Storm are completely opposite.
Yeah,
they go hunting for points. So I reckon just watching that whole game unfold, to me, if Penrith have 4 gears, I reckon they were just idling comfortably along in about second gear the other night.
Yeah.
Almost about to go into third, if you want to go on those terms.
Michael Maguire joins the Broncos.
Madge.
Smithy, walk us through. Obviously, Kevy gets let go. Walk us through your feelings across the whole thing, mate. Love to hear it.
Look, I think when it all broke, I was in shock, to be honest. My opinion was that I thought the Broncos were going to give Kevy at least a shot at the start of next year. I thought they should have given him another season, right? As disappointing as this year was, and when you look at their team list and all that sort of stuff, like coming off a grand final, sort of 15 minutes away from a premiership. They had one end on the trophy, but to this year not making finals, I know, huge disappointment. Huge disappointment. But I cast my mind back to 12 months ago, right? In the lead up to this game 12 months ago. The amount of back patting Kevy was getting and people just absolutely talking him up. How good is he? And, it's great. He's got the Broncos back where they should be, playing in a grand final, vying for a premiership. This is what the Broncos is all about. Like, everyone, mate. Everyone was patting him on the back and singing his praises, whereas now they don't make the finals and all of a sudden, I don't think he's the right person for the job. I just thought that he deserved another 12 months. Now, like I've spoken on our show previously about how injuries aren't excuses, because if you look at the two sides in the grand final this week, they've had their fair share of injuries this year. And they could have tossed up and said, oh, well, look, Cam Munster's been out for half the year. Or, Cleary's only played 12 games this year. Like, that's why we didn't make a grand final, didn't play finals. Well, they went on and continued to play and they got wins. Broncos didn't do that. So I was actually thinking to myself, I think the club may give him another opportunity next year to go, right, was this a one-off? Did we just have a bad year all round as coaches and players? And we all underperformed. Do we go another 12 months and, mate, if it's another failure, you're gone. They obviously didn't think that. They thought something more severe was going on and that they needed a change straight away, and they've gone that way. Now, do I think Michael Maguire can make a difference? He's certainly a very different coach to Kevy Walters. Okay, Kevy, in my experience, look, I've been coached by Kevy at Clubland. He was an assistant coach with Craig Bellamy, okay? And every time I get asked about, individuals, when they've been a coach, a head coach and an assistant coach, it's hard to compare the two because they turn into different people. Mate, they're different people. I'm telling you right now. And I had Madge as assistant coach at Melbourne too. So seeing him in that the West Tigers doco, he was a completely different person to what I seen in Melbourne when he was assistant coach. He was all smiles. He was always upbeat. He was grabbing when blokes were down. He'd grab them around. Put his arm around him, say, "Come on, mate, we need you to be better, and let's lift in next job," and blah blah blah. He was like the good cop bad cop situation with Craig Bellamy, right? Whereas when you're a head coach, you're very much different to what you are as an assistant. So Kevy, so the difference between the two, Kevy's he's more around, like particularly as an ex-player of the Broncos, he's more around, the passion of being a Broncos player. Okay, what it means to represent the Broncos, what it means to wear the Broncos jersey and go out there and play with pride and play for your mate and play hard and all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think Madge will be more, he'll be a lot more, he'll focus more on the finer parts of the game. Okay, much more like, say, a Craig Bellamy. So he'll be talking fundamentals, he'll be talking effort, he'll be talking all different things. Whereas I think Kev was more about, the thought process or the mentality of being a Bronco and what that means and how you should go and play. So I think what Michael Maguire might bring to this footy club is a bit more structure to their football program. I think he might bring a bit more sort of repetition. Now, whether, I can't say one's wrong and one's right. It's just, it really, you're looking for something that's going to get the best out of the squad that you have. So it's going to be interesting to see what Madge will do with this list that he has at the moment. Because on paper, when you look at it, you go, that's a top 4 list. They've got the caliber of player there to go and compete against anyone.
Yeah.
They just, for some reason this year, and it's hard to comment, like you can't say this is why and this is why, because we're not there, mate.
Yeah.
But it's sort of looking at the list they had, it's hard to sort of put together a thought process or a reason as to why they were unable to perform this year.
Yeah, like the talk around Michael Maguire has kind of been, will his intensity mix with this current roster? And, this current roster is a younger roster at the Broncos, and they're flary and they're out there, and those are often things you don't associate with, the intense, tough stuff. Now, like, don't get me wrong, like, you can be flary and out there and still tough, Reece Walsh, first tackle he took in Origin, he ran straight at the front rails for New South Wales. There are different types of toughness. Yeah. But it is a question, the intensity with Michael Maguire brings. How will this younger generation of Broncos players deal with it? Now, I actually found a good quote from Angus Crichton in regards to, because that has been the talk around Michael Maguire. He's very intense as a head coach. Obviously, he's different as an assistant coach, as you just mentioned. And for our listeners, assistant coaches, geez, they are so different to head coaches. I cannot express it strongly enough.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones that get to tell you the good news, and they're the ones that get to come and pick you up when you're down and pat you on the back. And whereas the head coach, he has to have the hard conversations. Anyway, so this is what Angus Crichton said during this Blues series this year. He'd probably be the first to admit, that's Madge, that he has softened his approach. I think that's a credit to him as a coach and as a man evolving with the times and learning from where he may have made some mistakes in the past. He's sort of been driving the connection more than anything. That less is more mentality, making sure that training is sharp, the boys are on, and the boys are having a good time, and everyone is enjoying each other's company. So, hearing from Angus, who actually was handed his debut from Michael Maguire, I think that's going to be interesting, is to see how far Madge has evolved to be able to potentially handle a team that really does represent the next generation of athlete.
Yeah, but you got to understand, Kempy, though, like that's state of origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely different, mate. And coaching a stateside compared to a club side they're two separate things, mate. Really, all you're doing as, and I'm not saying it's an easy job, right? Because I've never done it, so I'm not going to say that it's easy. But the facts are, because I've been involved in these sides, the facts are when you get to that level and you're coaching a team of New South Wales players, you're not really coaching them. As Angus Crichton just said there, like, you're bringing together a group of players, highly skillful, very talented players, and bringing a connection so they're all on board with the same with the same goal in mind and understanding how they achieve that goal together. Okay, so like there's no way you get into camp and you've got Jerome Luai in there, Reece Robson, Payne Haas, like these type of guys. Like you're not coaching them. You don't have time to start with. You don't have time. You've got a 10-day build up. There's no way you're going to try and sit down 17 or 18 players and say, okay, boys, I'm going to teach you the way I want you to play football.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So you're actually really not coaching them. You are managing that group together and bringing them together as one to have, to bring that, like Madge spoke about this year, and he was very successful at it, bringing that passion back into what it means to be a New South Wales player, what it meant to wear that sky blue jersey. He spoke about that in his press conferences. I remember it, leading into game one where he held that jersey up.
Yeah.
He just kept picking it up and showing it and, talking about the jersey and, I'm picking players that want to play for this jersey and this and that. That's all it's about. Mate, it's very different. Like when he gets into this preseason, they'll be starting soon.
Yep.
Like it's 2nd of October. Like they're rookie players, they're younger guys. They'll be kicking off in a few weeks. So I can bet you bottom dollar that it won't be the same Michael Maguire that we seen during that Origin period where he just had to get in and just manage his players, and he did a wonderful job at it. Hence why they won the series this year. Get into Clubland though, it's not. You don't have 17 or 18 of the best players in the game at your disposal. Okay, you've got when you look at it, when you're looking at elite players. Okay, and we just finished talking about how they got a great list, but you talk about say Carrigan, Haas, Walsh, Reynolds. They're sort of the cream of the crop there. You know what I mean? Cobbo's played a little bit of rep footy. Tony Staggs, a little bit as well. But outside of that, mate, like you've got a core group of players that have played, 60, 80, 100 first grade games who are still learning, and then below them you've got newcomers, you've got rookies that have got a lot of natural ability, but they don't understand what it takes to be a consistent first grader. So that's what coaching is.
Yeah.
Okay, to bring all of those different, there are different levels of rugby league as far as where they are in their journey, and they've all got different abilities. They've all got different thoughts and processes on what the way the game should be played. But you got to bring all of those people together and constantly educating them on the game and how to improve. That's coaching. So and that's what brings pressure, and that's what brings that intensity that we've seen Madge have at different clubs that he's been involved in.
Yeah, he's already made reportedly already made some first big moves. So Kobe Hetherington and Corey Pakes were all basically told you're good to go.
Yeah.
You're elsewhere.
Yep.
And Madge has come in and said, no,
boys,
you're not going anywhere. I want you here.
I like that.
I like that too.
I think they're two very valuable players for him.
Agreed, and I was actually really surprised. Like Kobe Hetherington, he's the kind of bloke I want in a Broncos jersey. He's tough as nails. He goes all day long. Yeah, for sure. There's parts of his game he needs to improve on, but I was quite surprised we were letting him go because I feel like that's what we kind of miss is tough as nails guy that's going to get through a bunch of work. And Pakes in the modern game, I think, in the right environment, has a lot to offer. Super explosive 14. So I like the decisive nature of Madge. I like the fact that he hasn't really sat on it too long. He's gone, nah, this is what I want. Boom, boom, boom. Look, as I said, to begin the segment off, it really is going to be interesting. Like, what version of Madge will we see? Will it be the South Sydney one? Will it be the West Tigers one? Will it be one we've never seen before? Will it be a new and improved one?
I reckon we'll find out after about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So let's see how results go for the Bronx in the first 6 weeks, where they're sitting on the ladder. Like if they're 5-1, if they've won 5, lost 1, then we'll see a pretty sort of, I guess, I wouldn't say a happy Madge because I reckon he's a lot like Craig Bellamy. He's always looking for that improvement.
Yeah.
But compared to, say, a 1-5 after 6 weeks, look out, boys! Look out.
There's been a lot of, there's been talk about, ex-players talking about the fact that he's a New South Welshman. You know what fixes that? Winning. If he's winning,
Oh,
There's no. Who cares where he's from? I don't think anyone's going to bother.
yeah, I think back in the day, like maybe that whole Queensland thing, that was the sort of outlook of what people wanted at the Broncos. But your captain's a New South Welshman.
Yeah, our front row is a New South Wales.
Payne Haas is a New South Welshman.
Yeah.
Like I think, those days are gone.
Melbourne Storm v the Penny Panthers, Sunday 6th of October, 7:30. Panthers, 5th straight grand final for a historic four-peat, potentially. Storm, the last team to beat the Panthers in a grand final. Melbourne's 5th grand final in the last 9 years, and I think it's Bellamy's 10th grand final or 11th?
10th.
10th.
Yep.
Holy heckers. Of the last 8 grand finals, Melbourne and Panthers have featured in 7 of them. Only 2019 Roosters Raiders, one of these teams did not feature. Storm team list. Pappenhausen at fullback. Warbrick and Coates on the wing. Howarth and Meaney in the centres. Munster at 6. 7 is Hughes. 8 is Kamikamitha. 9 is Grant, and he will captain the Storm. 10 is Josh King. 11 is Sean Bloor. What an incredible journey for him. Eli Katoa, another guy, incredible journey. Trent Lioro at 13. 14 is Wishart. 15 is Welsh. 16, Lazarus Velapu will become the most inexperienced grand final player in the NRL era. 6 games to his name. Then you've got Alec McDonald and Grant Anderson at 18. For Panthers, it's Edwards, Taruva, Tungo, Alamotti, To'o, Luai, Cleary will captain them. Leota, Kenny, James Fisher-Harris, Garner, Martin and Yo. Schneider at 14. I'd argue that's insurance for Cleary. 15, it's Lindsay Smith. 16, it's Liam Henry. Eisenhuth at 17. And young gun outside back, Casey McLean at 18. Both teams choosing an outside back as 18th man. Smithy, love to get your thoughts, mate.
Oh, what a game it is, really. Like, it's just... And like, let's get this out the way. I'm a Melbourne Storm man. I'd love to see my boys get up, but this is... Mate, I dropped the kids off at school this morning, right, in the car, and I'm just chatting away, and I said, I don't have a feeling either way at the moment of where this game's going to go. So that, hopefully, from a spectator's point of view, that means, like, we're going to have a nail-biter. Usually I'll have this one feeling like, oh, look, this team's bringing this form into it, and, the lead-up matches suggest this, and it's making me feel this certain way, but I just think they're so evenly matched, it's not funny. So I can't see, at this stage of the week, like we're still only Wednesday, we've still got a fair few days to go, but, if I look at one thing, I say, well, the challenge is a little bit greater now, right, with Nelson being suspended for Melbourne. All right, that's what I say. Not saying it's now they can't win it. I'm saying the challenge for them to get over this Penrith side now is just a little bit harder without Nelson, because we all know what he brings.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Him playing on the weekend, right? He is the biggest player on the park by a country mile.
Yeah.
A country mile. Now, I know he's getting replaced by Lazarus Valepu, who's 125 kilos. He is a giant of a man.
Yeah.
Trust me. I seen him in the warm-up last week when I was out in the middle of the field. I was about 20 metres away from the forward pack when they were warming up, mate. He is a massive, massive man. Not as tall as Nelson, but, mate, he is the size of his legs.
Thick.
They look like the size of my body. I'm telling you, Kempy.
Oh, wow.
If I stood behind, like, it would look like I was one of his legs, one of his quads, my entire body. He is a giant of a man, but he doesn't carry the same experience. Well, let's talk about that for a second, right? Nelson Solomoto has played 23 finals matches.
Wow.
Like, you don't realise that, hey?
Yeah.
And I get this feeling like, particularly the guys that represent teams outside of Australia or don't play State of Origin, you sort of forget about how experienced they are. He's played 23 finals matches.
That's crazy.
He's the second most experienced Melbourne Storm player behind Cam Munster. Cam Munster's played 25 finals games.
Yeah.
So, mate, that's a bit of a dent in your team when you're taking that much experience away from this match.
Yeah.
23 finals matches, mate.
Wow.
Okay, counts for something. So the challenge is a little bit greater for them, but I just look at this the matchups of all the positions, like the wingers. That's an intriguing part of this match in itself. Like, Melbourne Storm have two tall timbers, like 6'3", 6'4", when we're talking about Warbrick and Coates. On the other side of the fence, Taruva and To'o, like they're little fellas. They're tiny compared to Melbourne Storm's wingers. Like they're 5'0".
Yeah.
Yet they give Penrith so much from the backfield.
Oh.
Like out of their own end. Like I said earlier in the show, like almost beginning of the show, I spoke about To'o. Like he's probably their best player in the prelim. With like these carries and the yardage and all that sort of stuff and taking pressure off their middle forwards to get back on side and have those hard carries out of their own end. You know, it's a very different makeup. Then you look at the halves. Goodness, like Hughes and Munster, Luai Cleary, the matchups are incredible. Like it's really hard to split them. So I'm not going to say who wins. I'm being completely honest at this stage. I want Melbourne to win. But at this point of the week, they are so evenly matched, it's not funny. And I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I really don't.
Oh, it's my famous last words, Smithy. My famous last words. I actually have a feeling for Storm. I actually have a feeling. I have to be honest. Like,
well, that makes me feel a bit better.
I have to be honest. Like, I'm just telling people how I feel. I just feel it might be Storm's moment.
Yep. Why is that, though?
As earlier in the show when I was talking about, I haven't watched the Penrith Panthers this year and gone, wow, that they're playing to their potential right now. Yep. And now that may be because you're in your fifth year heading to a grand final. How do you get up for a normal game of rugby league? Like when you in round 27 when you're playing the Titans, like how do you get up for that? And so I'm very, very aware that the Storm could come out and just the Penrith could come out and absolutely blitz it. I am absolutely not sitting here saying that it's an easy win for the Storm and they're just going to towel them up. Yeah. It could be the complete opposite. Storm could go out. The Panthers could go out and literally be like, mate, we're in our fifth grand final. We know exactly what to do in this situation. This is like us. This is another game to us, and we can completely dominate it. Looking at the Melbourne Storm, and as I spoke about earlier in this conversation, about if you were to graph the Storm's form at the year, it would be a very even line up to them peaking right now.
A gradual incline.
Very. There wouldn't be a lot of up and downs outside of the Dragons' loss at Storm at home.
Yep.
It'd be inclined pretty evenly. Whereas you look at the Penrith Panthers year, and it would be a bit up and down, and obviously injuries, and I get all that, but I would never have looked at them and gone, outside of that first 20 minutes against the Roosters, where I was like, holy crap, that's the Panthers we know.
Yep.
And so that's where I just think that, Panthers may start really, really fast, but I do believe that the Storm may just have that form confidence to fall back on for that middle 60 minutes, or not 60 minutes, middle 50 minutes, just to go, we know how to get ourselves out of just a bit of a deficit or a bit of, we're confident in our form. Yep. I think also, it's still, I know like Nathan has come out and said, I am sweet, I got nothing to worry about. But if you're carrying Schneider on the bench, that is because you do have something to worry about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If Cleary was 100% fit, there's no way you're carrying Schneider on the bench, in my opinion. I'm happy to be wrong.
What did Matty John say earlier? Like he reckons Ivan might be playing some mind games. Is that right? I think he made a comment on one of the shows. Was it yesterday or maybe earlier today that he thought that maybe Ivan was playing a few mind games, putting Schneider on the bench or naming him on the bench?
Well, he got me. He's got me hook, line, and sinker. If it's true, you got me hook, line, and sneaker, and I'll have to reassess and just say I was wrong. But if he is 14, I think there's no reason you put him there at 14 unless. It's not like Schneider's had a good year. If anything, his year hasn't been, respectfully, it hasn't been the best.
Well, could this happen, right? Because Scotty Sorensen's been sort of thereabouts over the last couple of weeks. They've held him back. They said he was close for last week's game. Is that right? Against Sharkies? He's on an extended bench, right? Could they name him?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was reading a quote from Garner, who you could argue would be replaced by Sorensen.
Yeah.
And he said, basically in his quote is like, I'm looking forward to, I'm playing a grand final. How good? And if you were 50-50, would you say I'm playing a grand final?
No, this is what I'm saying, right? I'm saying Sorensen will come in for Schneider. And Nathan's like, he is actually sweet.
That's
So Ivan's playing some shadow games.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you because like Garner he's locked in. By Garner's comment, he's locked in. So that could be absolutely the case because if he was nearly there, ready to go last year, and that was actually Matty said mind games on the run home yesterday. As I said, I tell you what, you got me, Ivan. You got me good. But
I don't know if he'd do that though. I just don't know if he'd do that in the preparation for this week's game. Like how important it is. Like I don't know if you'd be messing around with that type of stuff.
I think also, even if it is the case that Sorensen comes on at 14, I still don't think Cleary's 100% because he come off the field last week holding his shoulder. And that's not to suggest he won't get through the game.
No.
But there's just no way he's 100%. So there is that as well. I look, though, the thing that scares me, if you're looking from a Storm perspective, the thing that really scares me is blokes like Edwards and Yeo that just are big game players. Like Yeo has been he's been my player of the year for the Penrith Panthers. I think he's been easily their best player. Edwards would be my second.
Yep.
And if I'm from a Storm perspective, I look at Trent Leoro, who is a bit of a rookie, and I look at Yeo, and I go, okay, there's a bit of a difference there in big games, and who knows, Trent Leoro could come out and play really well. And with Pappenhausen, he's run a Clive, so we know he will play really well. However, if it's a grindy game, it probably suits Edwards more because he gets through a lot of runs and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Mate, the reason why they're so good, those two guys, like Edwards and Yeo, is that they are relentless in the way they play the game. They are just at you all match with their running. Like very rarely, if ever, do you see them get the ball and they don't know what they're doing with it. There's always a plan. There's always intent in what they're doing. And they're just constantly at you, making you make defensive decisions. Like making decisions, right? Not only are you getting your body in front and trying to get them to the ground and all that sort of stuff, but by constantly having to make decisions in your mind, that's taxing in itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they are just constantly at you. And Isaiah Yeo, like there's been comments made from Moisey Simmons during the week around his thoughts on where he sits as far as all-time forwards are concerned. But the reason that makes Yeo so good is that he's got the ability to run the football himself. He's got the ability to play short with his other forwards, but also playing that link man for Cleary and Luai. He takes so much pressure off those guys.
Yeah.
He attracts multiple defenders around him to then release, time and space onto Luai and Cleary to do their thing. And if you give those two guys time and space, particularly Cleary, inevitably he's going to make the right decision 9 times out of 10. Like that little setup play that they had, where I think was it Alamotti scored, where they set up that. I think it was like a pass out the back to Cleary, and then he had a 2-man
flat ball
sort of option runner going through, and he hits Alamotti. Like that's like perfect play. They put them in sequences, right? Like if you get a chance in the lead up to this game, go back and try and watch some tries, but not just the play leading to a try, like the 2 and 3, maybe 4 tackles leading up to the Penrith tries this season. Like they have this sequence of where it might be, say, a middle forward hits it up. Isaiah Yeo will then handle the ball, tip it onto someone. They then come back a different direction. Isaiah Yeo will run forward with another forward, out the back to Cleary. Cleary will drop someone off back to the middle, and then they go back again, and they handle the ball, those players, those 3 players, in consecutive tackles, and they just pick apart defensive lines.
Well, it's whenever they're on their line and Leota and Fisher-Harris are on the field, they go, Fish. Then Leota usually gets dropped off by Yeo, as you just said.
Yep.
And Fish gets that first quick play of the ball.
Yep.
And then once those 2 big boys get the quick play of the ball, and it usually is because when Leota and Fish are on the field, that's when they score most of their points.
Yeah.
So it's as you literally just said, like that. It is a set system. They go Fish, Leota, bomb Yeo, and then they go Cleary.
Yep.
I thought it was a masterstroke last week. So the first time the Panthers get down to the Sharkies' edge, they do exactly what you just said, and guess where they attack? Where Ramian would have been in the centres.
Yeah.
Like, so smart. Like, just going, okay, where's the one guy that hasn't played centre all year? Oh, it's Talakai? We're going to run our first line on him.
Yep.
And so that system is a scary product. However, the Storm are kind of similar, and they did. So I wrote in my notes last week against the Roosters. In the second half, I felt like the Storm were going a bit sideways, and I said Storm were going too sideways. Literally, as I finished writing that note, they drop Howarth off, and then Grant, Pappenhausen, and Munster go to work, and they just the fast play the ball speed is just on another level. Like it is just relentless. And so it's good. Oh man, I cannot wait. I cannot.
So that's the threat, right? That's the threat for Penrith is that if they don't control the speed of play the ball this week, those 4 players will tear Penrith apart. Now it's going to take a lot more sort of patience than what they needed against the Roosters. Okay, Penrith's line isn't going to crack as easily as the Roosters did.
Yeah.
Now what they did was whether they previewed it or not, I'm pretty much 100% certain they would have. But that space around Keary and Crichton, they attacked that all night. They scored 4 tries through that area. Okay,
incredible.
But once they got that first little sniff of blood there, they just hammered that part of the field all night. Okay, now, as I said, they're not going to find space as easily as what they did last week compared to this week against Penrith because Penrith, as I said, they're a well-drilled side. And on top of being well-drilled, they are fit. They keep turning up. They just keep turning up. If there's space created, someone will be there to fill that space and make a tackle. Where they may try and attack possibly, and I wouldn't say it's their more potent side, particularly this season, maybe left side around Cleary, and not because of the question marks around his shoulder, but they have been a little bit vulnerable around him this year defensively. And if you look back to last year's grand final, where did Broncos carve him up a little bit?
Yeah, Cleary and Tungle.
Yeah, and Ezra Mam, didn't he?
Yep.
He made some line breaks. He scored points through that area where they made those guys make decisions. So if you're thinking that edge for Melbourne, that's Cam Munster, and he can create all sorts of dramas.
Yeah.
All sorts of dramas for defensive lines out there. If he's on and he's on one of his good runs, he could create all sorts of dramas. So, look, there's no doubt. Look, they will have by now. Okay, both teams will have their game plans sorted. They'll understand exactly where they feel as though they can find out some weaknesses in the opposition defensive lines, and also too be well and truly on top of the way they need to play, and the style in which they feel can win them this premiership.